Hello out there. It's Susan Cook with Rialto Academy, and I am here live with Les McGehee, president of Rialto Academy, and
Uh,
my coach. Thanks for coming, Les. I so appreciate your time today to come on and talk about coaching and also Rialto.
well, it's great to be with you, Susan. I always look forward to my time with you. And you know that the thing I want to speak about the most, other than my children, is coaching and business growth and what we can do to help people move into the potential of the gifts they've been given. This is my number one conversation to have. So thank you for getting me into it.
Awesome. Great. So why don't you tell our audience a little bit more about you, how you got into necessarily real estate coaching, because that's what I specialize in.
And since I'm not an agent, some people would be confused by that, I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've run a great many real estate businesses, big and small, yet I've not been an agent myself. Yeah, it's interesting how it started. I'll give you the short version here. Cut me off if it's not the short version.
Okay.
Yeah, it began by something that I have seen a lot of my mentors and peers deal with as well at their beginning, which is it was all triggered by getting in trouble too much in high school. And so in high school, they ran out of punishments for me. I'd already gotten really good at scrubbing cafeteria tables and cleaning chalkboards and things like that. And one of the last punishments they came up with is I was a little bit of as you can tell, I'm not incredibly shy. And so I was a little bit of the showy kid, and a film crew had spotted me and put me in a small film. So my little country school said, since you're kind of the show busy, show off kid, your next punishment will be to launch the school's first talent show. And they assigned a football coach to be my punisher, and he made me do all the work of building this talent show. And I'm old enough that while doing the talent show, the record player broke. And I had already told the three jokes I had written. And the coach said, you need to get out there. He's going like this to me. He's going, you need to get out there and cover this while I walk to the library and get the other record player. It was a little country school, And so I went and talked to the audience and had fun. And I just chatted with the audience for 13 minutes. And kind of like in a movie, Susan, one of the judges of the talent show happened to be a guy who had a job. He had been booking comedians, and he had a large comedy show happening at the convention center in San Antonio, Texas, in a couple of days with a fellow that some of you will recall. His name is Paul Rodriguez, a famous comedian. And he said, I didn't know there was going to be a teenage comedian here. Will you open the show for me in a couple of days at the convention center? And I said, no way. It was very uncomfortable not having jokes and not feeling like I could tell jokes. And he said, young man, nobody needs your jokes. But that part where you spoke to the audience, if you'll do that, I'll give you $185. I was 16 and a half years old, Susan. So I said, I think I show up early to test the equipment. And I took that gig. And while at that gig, I got another gig. And so I had done a couple of thousand comedy shows by the time I was in college and still couldn't tell a joke, and had started a comedy company where we did improvisation. And that company later won my first #1 in the world award, which was #1 in team improvisational comedy. Yet the state of Texas government and the University of Texas McCombs School of Business started attending our shows and studying our communication techniques. Mm-hmm. So they did a 3-year study at a business school based on the communication techniques I developed on these high performance comedy teams. And that led to my first book deal and put me on tours at MBA schools and with most of the Fortune 100 companies, even though I was a comedian who had not finished college myself. The college that did the study on me was the college I'd not finished at, as a matter of fact. They wrote me the largest check I'd seen at that time. Well, that book came to the attention of the good people at Keller Williams University over at Keller Williams, and they invited me to speak at a convention at one point. And I thought they were kind of curious. I thought real estate people were very curious, and I took a deep interest in the solo entrepreneur brand of business person. Mm-hmm. And so since Keller offices are in my hometown of Austin, one month I had some free time and I went down and I interviewed them and I learned about a few things, and they asked me to write some books for them. So as you know, I wrote a half a dozen major training books for them, and we won our second #1 in the world award. We won the #1 training team award. And about that time, I was falling in love with coaching. And I had told people for years I would never coach. And I had turned down many coaching jobs, except in the entertainment industry, where I'd coached television show developers and comedians in the hundreds. Then when I began coaching, I really had, I was pleasantly surprised just how much I fell in love with it. The bounce it puts in my step when a client doubles their business or doubles their quality of life, or achieves goals that they have desired all their lives, or the depth of passion that they believe and they have faith. And then they bring these beautiful things in. As you know, we had a client, we coach a coach in Los Angeles whose client just made the cover of Time magazine. And that's a great example. I didn't get a check for this lady being on the cover of Time magazine, yet you better believe it put a bounce in the entire team's step for weeks, because client success is what does it for us. It's just such a great deal. I think some of us wish we'd been helped earlier in life, and maybe that's one reason we're so motivated to help other people not struggle, because they haven't been told the simple truth. Yet I also like the people that draws around me, like yourself, right?
I want to touch on that just a minute. You know, you mentioned the coach that you're coaching.
Yeah.
And I myself, our relationship has developed me as a leader and as a coach. And I want to talk a little bit about how we met and why you are so, I mean, you really are very skilled at developing leaders and your leadership coaching. So I want to, you know, just touch on that. We met at the certification for One Thing trainers, and did you do that before? Did you develop coaches before that that experience?
Yeah, we had noticed that coaches I developed were still coaching and had great rosters, and coaches I hadn't developed were coming and going. And so I was being tapped by other coaching outfits to contribute to their coaching. And the One Thing was a heck of an opportunity. I'd fallen in love with Gary and Jay's book the first time I laid eyes on it, the year before it came out. And they asked me to write that program and write the workshop. And it was a really fantastic assignment. And my goal was to recruit 100 coaches to be certified trainers of the One Thing. And I went looking for you pretty quickly, didn't I?
Yeah.
And I saw you. I practiced the same. You know, we're not fancy people at Rialto Core Coaching. We believe in core disciplines that have been proven year after year from really successful people. And so I had been taught by the mentors that had impacted me before that when you spot a talented person, you go say something to them, and you right away see if you take that up a notch to the next level of relationship. And I know that you do those things extremely well, because I know your track record. Yet when I saw you and saw you start to work, I knew right away that we would end up with some kind of great business together. And as you remember, I went straight up to you and said, well, I see who you are, and I see what's going on, and we're going to develop what you do with this, and then we're going to be interested in developing your next goal and your next goal. And now here, a few years later, I get to watch you growing this fantastic business that you're growing, and you're a great example. Am I telling the truth when I say that when you bring me one of your fantastic home runs, that I say, why don't you listen for a minute, and I stand up and I do a happy dance?
Love those happy dances. Yeah.
So that's what coaches are in for. You know, thank goodness we get checks, yet we want your results, and you bring fantastic results, and it's extremely rewarding. The thing I could do that could accelerate the number of people that I could help with their own gifts would be to recognize people that would multiply my efforts by being great coaches themselves. And that's why it was very important to me to nurture you and get you on the team. And look, I'm right. Look how many people you help. I was totally right. Well,
you know, it's my joy, you know, and that's one of the things that, you know, I love to do. It's, I posted today on Facebook something about Kevin Kaufman said something about being willing and open-minded. And that's one of the things that I really have to discover first about my future coaching clients, is that whether or not they're willing and open-minded, I can do anything with a willing and an open mind.
Right.
And you know, that you have helped me see that. You know, you can talk and talk and talk to people and give them material. And I learned that in my previous companies and previous careers. And you can teach and hold classes and all of that. But unless someone is willing and open-minded, then you know, you're not going to really have an audience. You taught me how to speak to people, to discover that, you know, and to listen to what they want. And, you know, that really has been incredibly empowering for me over the last 6 months or so since we've been one-on-one coaching, and I've been a part of the Rialto Academy. So tell me a little bit about Rialto Academy and why you started Rialto.
All right. So when I was writing training books for real estate and I was taking a deep dive in the solo entrepreneurial business startup scenario, and I had written the team building book, and I was co-writing with Jonathan Murby. And Jonathan Murby had just written the first national expansion program for real estate, amongst other things. Mm-hmm. And he and I had come up with some things that we thought would be really great for the clients, and the coaching environments that we were assisting in weren't capable of doing those things. They were restricted by either some sort of corporate relationship or something to do with their contracting. And so our mentors have said, and a lot of people that are listening to you today will recognize our mentors have said, we stand on the shoulders of giants that came before us. Well, we were taught that, and we embrace it deeply. And we talk about belief, and you talk about belief in what you're building, and that comes from some of the people we respect deeply, like Napoleon Hill and Charles Duhigg and things like that. Yet Jonathan and I felt passionately that we could improve the client experience and improve results, and we were addicted to such things. This is what we want. This is what gets us very excited every day, is accelerating and clarifying results for well-intentioned clients that are moving up into their potential. And so we said openly one day we'll have a coaching company, and we will do education, training, coaching, and publishing. We'll create an entire ecosystem, and we'll stand on the shoulders of the giants that came before us. Even though some of those giants are contemporaries, this is what a front edge education, technology, and historical honoring of the information that came before us. This is what a company looks like for us, that includes front edge tech, standing on the shoulders of the people that we have learned from, and having a 2.0 company, and doing the entire ecosystem of education through publishing. And as you know, and everybody who works with you know, the behavior change is coming in the coaching phase. We love education, we love training, it's all necessary, yet it poises you for the coaching success, right? Yeah. And so then they get to have that behavior change, they get to own for the rest of their life. That's why we're addicted, is because we're changing lives at that interval of the thing. And to support this at a higher level, Jonathan and I needed to publish quite a bit. And we have beliefs about going faster and working at a higher level. I'm proud to say that whereas most universities of large real estate companies or corporations might publish a few curriculums a year, at Rialto, we publish maybe 5 to 10 curriculums a month. We have nonstop rotation of some of the finest clients in the world, like Sandia National Laboratories and Jack Welch, and some other clients that we're just incredibly proud of. Conference Direct is a fantastic client of ours as well. And of course, a whole bunch of real estate businesses, mid-sized brokerages, the big companies, and a lot of individual business people. And so we recognized we could be more client-centric. We could do things that had no restrictions. The question we ask is, if that is for the client's benefit, how do we do it? How do we make that happen within our system? So we have specialists. We're one of the few coaching companies that create our own content and have specialists in different arenas, like you with your recruiting knowledge and some of your other specializations. So, you know, I could tell the entire audience, while Susan is a really qualified master coach, she also has specializations. And so in Rialto, we recognize if a client needs an emphasis on recruitment, we don't expect to keep them in a Stockholm syndrome hostage situation with one coach. When we have a coach who's completing a PhD in leadership, and organizational and teaching of leadership studies. We have coaches that are CPAs. We have coaches that are consultants in the real estate financial systems category. We have team building coaches. We have Maxwell coaches. We love these specializations, and you're a great example of that. And so Rialto is largely about accelerating the learning curve with technology and a narrow list of really passionate core beliefs that we know to be true and have worked over and over again in an entire ecosystem with the client at the center of the ecosystem. If it's great for the client, it's great for us. And if it's not great for the client, we're probably cleaning it out of the system.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So tell me, why did you name the company Rialto?
Thanks. Yeah. So we're named after a bridge, and as you know, I'm kind of a nerd for this bridge metaphor. So Rialto is two things. Rialto is the name of the famous bridge in Venice, Italy, and Venice was a city-state that ruled the mercantile world at one point. They were the most powerful merchant organization in the world. Was a city. It was Venice. And they needed this bridge. It's over the Grand Canal, and it connects the residential part of the city to the business part of the city where they ruled the oceans. And so if you did business in Rialto, rather in Venice at a high level, you walked across the Rialto Bridge to get from your residential area over to the shipping and banking and financial district. And so we're very aware of the power that the footsteps going across that bridge have had. Also, we feel a little disruptive, Susan. We're not entirely patient people over here, and we love being on the front edge. And Rialto was also disruptive. It was a new type of design, and the previous two bridges had collapsed into the canal. And this design was so heavy, beautiful, and ambitious that they were called heretics. And everyone from the government to the Catholic Church accused them of breaking the law in trying to get the government to spend money on a design that there was no way it could succeed. Well, that was 500 years ago. And that beautiful bridge stands there and does business every day. There's business on the bridge. And bridges are important to us. In coaching, we identify where you're going. We get a clear understanding of where you are so that we can give clear steps of what is the bridge from where you are to where you're going. And we also remind our clients that we always build bridges and we never burn bridges. We love bridges. And so that's where that comes from. Also, Rialto is a really popular name for small town theaters. And when I look back on the 7,000 appearances I did and the television work that I did, I don't mind that I share the name with some cute little small town theaters as well.
Oh, that is a good, I didn't know that part.
Yeah, it's just the fun part.
So what's the future for Rialto?
Rialto is announcing an entire platform that we're really proud of. We have a unified entrepreneurial curriculum that we have designed in discussions with the home industries. By the home industries, we work a lot with real estate, of course, and real estate is at the center of all that, yet also mortgage and title and inspection and construction and insurance and warranty is in there as well. So we've identified the solo entrepreneur startup business. So the licensed entrepreneurial startup business that we share in common with lawyers and doctors and plumbers and everything else, right? The real estate community is surrounded by this group of a half a dozen industries. So we have a unified curriculum on our technology platform and in our classroom products that addresses all those industries so that when our realtor friends are speaking to their mortgage friends, are speaking to their inspection and title friends, we can go to the same events, we can study together, we can use the same vocabulary, we can be a more active part of growing each other, and we can behave like a community that grows itself as opposed to some of the elements in the community that would like to battle each other to the death. We believe in growing that entire pie for the benefit of well-intentioned individuals who are growing businesses. We have great clarity on that. So that's our future, is to build out the rest of those industries. We have expanded our coaches. We have a few coaches that have made it through our really intense coach training program. And so we'll be growing our coaching to a higher level. Some of the realtors and business owners that are watching you today will probably get approached about possibilities with coaching. We'd like to point out that we just rearranged some things to do with Susan's goals and schedules. And if you're really lucky, you could get one of the last remaining coaching contracts that Susan has available.
Yeah. My roster's getting full, and I'm developing a few classes too, around some technology.
Your time is getting more efficient too, though, and you're a great example. And your viewers would be wise to consider having you grow a portion of their business with them. We believe in ROI coaching. We have high expectations. You have to achieve to stay in the program, and Susan is just a shining example of that. So we're growing the coaching program. We continue to publish. Tech Success and Your Agent University are our first digital-based projects. And it's safe to say that our smart friends watching this today have never seen educational tech at the level that we use it for the user experience and the gathering of data and certificates and badges and the modern aspect of the learning tech that we use. If you haven't seen ours, you probably haven't seen anything like it.
And there's a coach behind that Your Agent University, right?
It's all of our specialists are contributing to it. Your Agent University is built by our team of 9 coaches and experts, and we interviewed several hundred experts for each topic. And it's in a digital format that yields information. So it gathers data as you go. So on your real estate team, for instance, you would have a dashboard and you could see everybody's progress and where they are in the courses and be notified when they finished and congratulate them. And they'd be receiving badges and certifications, and they'd be able to compete with each other a little bit. Have you gotten your open house certification? Have you gotten your database certification, things like this. And we like that very much. There are a lot of opportunities nowadays. People used to think classroom, or they used to think online, or they used to think interactive, small group learning like webinar and Facebook and whatnot. And the future is full of the best portions of all of those and correct recipes.
Yes,
that's
I agree. So you mentioned that you were adding to your coaching staff, and I've shared a couple of posts on Facebook about some of the other opportunities in Rialto. You want to share, about that, what you're looking for?
In like the other offerings that we're having fun with. Yeah, some of the courses that are, we're publishing a lot. And so rialtoacademy.com, we have a new profile website that is being published this month, and it'll show all of our offerings. Yet we've been rather prolific. And so we've written courses on request for everything from business etiquette and communications, and some very important literature for the real estate and mortgage community, on everything from culture policies like sexual harassment and agent safety, all the way through cultural sales, real estate agents that have a sense of comfort and propriety when dealing with people from other cultures have great advantages in the next decade as we look forward, since more and more, if you haven't been selling to people culturally different than you can go ahead and expect that you will be, because of that. That's where the activity is really growing the most. So we had fun writing those. We still do a lot of the one thing work. We love to do the one thing work. And Your Agent University is launching with 13 distinct titles, all written with data and interviews with experts in an interactive learning environment. Tech Success leveraged one of the most prolific real estate tech trainers in the nation, Mr. Michael Trithart. And so we have products like that. Right now, one of my favorites is a 3 to 6 month. There's a more robust version of it, but the 3 to 6 month version of Get Your Recruiting Culture in Order with Susan Cook. And a company that is serious about bringing talent that will stick and that will move the needle and that will have successes that shine, a nice light back on the company. They would be really wise to consider a 3 to 6 month establishing of a culture of recruitment in their company with you, Susan. We love those programs, and really too many to list here. But we are publishing probably 3 classroom curriculums per month, 3 or 4 digital curriculums per month, and another few coaching curriculums per month. Our editor is approving somewhere in the ballpark of a dozen things per month, and we have our own in-house editor, copy editor, graphics department, coaching, an entire team of writers, research department, and we're growing, as a matter of fact. We could use a few more people. We are growing our sales and marketing team to manage the exponentially growing size of the market that we're speaking to. We want to make sure that we're doing a really good job in those conversations. And the way the coaching requests are coming in, I would think that in 2019, we will add some more coaches. Any coaches that are listening to this, if you're interested, we'll talk to you about it. Yet, if you're not someone who studies really assertively and is interested in adding certifications really assertively, we might not be the outfit for you. How many certifications have you gained in the last half a year, Susan?
Oh my gosh, let's see. At least four. Yeah. We're working on the fourth one. That's right. We're working on the fourth one right now.
This is Charles Duhigg.
Yeah, I'm telling you, it's intense, and but as I do it, and I gather resources together to really deep dive into these books, because there's several different ways to learn, right? I'm learning something about myself and how I learn, which then helps me to teach others how to learn, because not everyone learns the same way. I like kind of a combination. I like to have a book, but I also learn the best when I'm listening to the book in audible form. So, but that's just me. That's me. So I, like to have the book, and I go back and I underline and everything and write notes into the margins. But I've also gone to some other avenues like MentorBox. They have some incredible condensed versions where they actually speak to the author, and he starts talking about the backstory of why he wrote the book and all that kind of good stuff. And that is so, that kind of leads another, viewpoint onto the materials that we're learning,
And you're wise enough to know that there are multiple ways to digest that material, and it depends on your goals. So our clients, very often clients come to us and they got so excited when they found one of these books that they read it in one sitting, or they read it on the plane or over the weekend. And that's a fine way to read a book. Yet, like you said, some people get much higher retention reading the book simultaneously while listening to it on audio, in which case you might even be able to speed it up a tiny bit on one of the audible programs. And then if you're looking for behavior change, we're very likely to say you're supposed to be reading 5 to 10 pages of that book a day and not digesting it quickly. We want you taking a walk with that book every day. If you're inviting it to influence you, well, read some of it every day, and read the sections of it relevant to what your thinking is doing. And so, and we layer all of those things. And once you've done all those things, of course, interviews with the author, and you're moving towards training and learning the better way, and with Charles Duhigg, that's a great example, the power of habit we're talking about. So we're learning the highest level. I think we are right now achieving the highest level I've seen anywhere of conversations about how do you apply the power of habit information to help our clients with the habits that are necessary for their business success at a much higher level than has been done in traditional business coaching. And it takes reading a Pulitzer Prize winning, scientifically driven author like Duhigg to make sense of that. And so to think that in one sitting you would digest all that's a mistake. So you're a good example that our coaches study and get certified on subject matter at about 3-month intervals. And all books are not created equal. Some books were written by business people who put it down in a book, and other books are written by writers that are so crafty they could have chosen to write about anything they chose to. And Duhigg, with his Pulitzer, is one of those. We mentioned The One Thing, Keller and Papasan, they're #1 award-winning authors. And so we really love their skill of writing as well. And you want to let that influence you. And we're looking for behavior change. And so if anyone's interested in getting into part of our certifications, recognize that that we're really friendly and fun. We have people that come from comedy backgrounds and entertainment backgrounds. Yet it would be a mistake to miss how serious we are, because we are downright aggressive when it comes to gaining training and education that allows us to increase those results from our clients that we are so darn addicted to.
That's the truth. That's the truth. Yeah.
You work with us, we have expectations, right? And so
Yeah. Well, on that note, I think we'll just go ahead and stop, though I could talk to you all day long. You know that. So if you have any, question, how can people get in touch with you about some of these opportunities? I know you have a website. You mentioned that already. How else can they get in touch with Rialto Academy?
Well, my name is Les with one S. Les with one S. And so if you get that right, you can go les@rialtoacademy.com. And I would love to hear from anybody who has a deep interest in growing or being part of a growing team or accelerating other people's growth. We are deeply into that, and we expect to be driving that entire industry forward. We're not patient people, and we think there is much room for improvement of that industry, and I'd be happy to hear from you. Having said that, those of you that grow other people, which I can imagine is one of the reasons you're attracted to Susan's broadcast, since she has all the right energy for growing other people. Maybe I'll close with a haiku that you and I learned recently.
Yes.
Good advice for coaches. So coaches ask good questions, right? And there's a fellow that we certified for content in Rialto Academy coaching named Michael Stanier. He's a Canadian coach. And that book isn't one of the most famous coaching books, yet he has a really powerful set of questions in there. And he has this cute haiku that all of you that are also into growing people for the benefit of their own results, for the benefit of their own lives, you might like this. Talk less and ask more. Your advice is not as good as you think it is.
Love it.
Remind coaches to ask questions. We're not coaching people with generalities. We're coaching them specifically for the growth of their recipe of potential they were gifted with.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. We ask a lot of questions.
Yes. Well, thank you so much, Les, and I'll see you later in the week, I'm sure.
Thank you, Susan. I appreciate it. Everybody, thank you for your time today. Go do something generous. If you feel grateful for this content, go do something generous for somebody and go mentor a business person that can't afford to go hire a coach yet. All right. Yep. Show your generosity to growing the community. Thank you very much.
All right. Bye, Les.
Bye-bye. Thank you, Susan.
It won't end.